Join me for a special royal wedding edition of Tea Time with Jennifer. Okay, some people have the Super Bowl. I have royal weddings, and they don't happen very often. So today I'm really excited to do a special royal wedding edition of Tea Time with Jennifer for you. We will of course be discussing the royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, which took place this past weekend. So I hope you've made your cup of tea and that you will sit down and join me for a really juicy chat. Okay, so what is it that I'm drinking today? You will note that I have a royal wedding cup. So my sister actually got this for me as a kind of a joke, but as a gift, and she knows me very well, so I loved it. And it was, it is the cup with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to commemorate the royal wedding. So I have one for Will and Kate. I even have one for Charles and Diana. I collect these. So anyway, I thought it was really sweet of my sister, and I thought I have to use this in my Tea Time with Jennifer video. So in this episode, we are going to be, of course, discussing the wedding dress, the ceremony itself, including the fiery preaching and the beautiful music. We are going to be talking about the best dressed guests. I'm going to be sharing your comments that you sent to me on social media. We are going to be going through the most beautiful royal wedding dresses of all time, and at the very end, I'm going to be bringing in a special guest for his unique commentary on the royal wedding. So let's get right into it. Okay, so I thought that Meghan Markle looked beautiful. She ended up wearing a dress by Givenchy by Claire Waite Keller, and it was a very simple dress, a very simple design, and I know that surprised a lot of people. But it was just very, there wasn't a lot of embellishment on it, basically. It had sort of a boat neck neckline with longer sleeves, and it was very conservative and very simple, basically. And she wore with it a very long veil. So many people were speculating about what type of dress she would be wearing, and it ended up being this simple one. I thought that she looked very beautiful. She had very minimal makeup on, which was nice, just plain and beautiful and simple. And I thought that it was very fitting. Okay, so many people chimed in on Instagram and Facebook about what they thought about her dress, and it seems that the consensus of people thought that the dress was beautiful and that it was fitting for the occasion. Many people did bring up that this is Ms. Markle's second wedding, and so the dress is not going to be as embellished as people thought. They thought it was fitting, that it was just more simple and conservative. And I would agree with that, I think. Many people said that her dress reminded them of Audrey Hepburn or Jackie Kennedy, and it did have, because of that boat neckline, it did have that vintage sort of vibe to it too. And so I just thought that she looked very nice in it. I thought she looked very elegant, and it was classic. She didn't wear any large pieces of jewelry. I know some people said, oh, I would have loved to seen a necklace. And that's it. And her hair was also very simplistic. Some people on Instagram and Facebook expressed that they wish that it was pinned back a bit more. But you know, I just thought that it seems to fit her. I don't know very much about her, but it seems to fit her well. And I just thought she looked very comfortable and classic and elegant in her dress. So I thought that it was a beautiful dress. Okay, let's talk about the mother of the bride, Doria Raglan. And she looked beautiful. I thought that she just hit the nail on the head with her style choice. This is mother of the bride. She just looked absolutely gorgeous in this classic look. It was elegant, it was sophisticated, and I thought that she looked wonderful. And I was thinking to myself, how intimidating that must have been for her. And I know, I think she was one of the only family members there at the wedding, which is really sad. Meghan's father was dealing with some heart issues, I believe, and that's why he couldn't come. So anyway, I was just thinking to myself, how intimidating it is just in general to have, you know, your daughter get married, but to have all of the cameras on you and the whole world watching you, and just being in such a different location with all these different traditions that you're not used to and things like that. And I thought she handled herself with poise and with grace. So I just, you know, I'm a big fan of hers. I thought that she looked wonderful, and that she just, yeah, I thought she just did a wonderful job at the wedding, and she looked very beautiful. Okay, let's talk about the best dressed guests. And I have to say that at this royal wedding, I genuinely did not see any guest that I thought, what are they wearing? I thought that everyone looked so beautifully put together and just beautiful. I honestly didn't see anyone where I thought, what are they doing? You know, and it's funny because when William and Catherine got married, there were a lot of crazy style choices in that wedding. We all know, you know, there were a bunch of them. And so while that makes a wedding really interesting because you're looking at all the hats and everything, in this wedding, I just thought that everybody just looked so good. And so it was really hard to choose my best dressed as far as the guests go. But I would say that the #1 best dressed guest was Lady Kitty Spencer, who's actually Princess Diana's niece. And she was wearing that gorgeous green ensemble with that hat. And I love green, so I'm partial to it, but she just looked incredible. I thought she was just absolutely stunning. Color was just out in full force, and I love that. I love color for a wedding. Of course, Amal Clooney was there, and she was wearing a marigold dress and hat, and I thought that she looked very beautiful. Everyone did. Autumn Phillips, the wife of Peter Phillips, she looked beautiful in that sort of electric blue color. Of course, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, looked beautiful, and Alexander McQueen, she always looks elegant and sophisticated. I love that hat. She just looks great. And the Queen makes such a wonderful use of color. She always looks vibrant, and she looked wonderful as well. We saw a lot of floral prints on the women's dresses. James Blunt's wife, for example, I thought she looked beautiful. I just thought that the guests looked really stunning. So let me know in the comment section who you thought the best dressed guests were. Now, why do we talk about any of this stuff? Because sometimes people say, Jennifer, it's so superficial. Why do you care? Why are you talking about this? But I think that it's really fun and interesting for us to take style cues from people. So when you see someone who's well dressed, you can think, oh, okay, I like that style, I like that look, and it's elegant and sophisticated, and I'm just going to file that away in my memory. And I just, I love when people dress well. So that is why we are talking about the best dressed guests. Okay, let's talk about the ceremonies. Royal weddings are generally very traditional affairs. So this year, though, the ceremony was very traditional in some senses and then also non-traditional. So what I loved so much about it, and what I think a lot of people loved, and they were saying this on Instagram and Facebook, was how diverse it was. And there were diverse performers and speakers, and it just was beautiful, I thought. And so let's start off with Reverend Curry, who gave a sermon, and everyone was talking about the fiery preacher, because this is not normally the type of sermon that you would see at a royal wedding. It's normally more subdued, and he was very animated and passionate, and it divided the internet basically. But a lot of people online said that they got uncomfortable when when he started, really getting into the sermon, and they thought maybe it went on too long. Some people thought they loved it. There were really funny memes on Twitter about this. There was one about how, all the British aristocrats were really holding back from like dancing in the aisles, shouting hallelujah when he was doing his sermon. So let me know, what did you think of the sermon by Reverend Curry? I thought the message was really good, but he just really kind of shook up, the service, and it was very fiery and it was very unexpected, but I don't know. I thought it added a bit of flair. So I like a bit of passion in my preaching, but a lot of people thought he went overboard. Let's see what people seem to say on the internet. I have some of your Facebook comments here. Arturo writes, I love the expressions of the faces of the royals as Bishop Curry gave his sermon. Priceless. It was like, is this allowed in church? I caught both Camilla and Kate with demure smiles at each other. And that was one of the most liked comments. And that was true. You could kind of see the royals looking at each other like, is this really happening? Peace Within wrote, I thought Reverend Curry was amazing. Meghan was stunningly elegant. The diversity made it the best royal wedding ever. Kate B wrote, I thought that Reverend Curry was wonderful, but questioned the appropriateness in this particular setting. It was almost like no one had explained to him about protocols and traditions. I'm all for shaking it up a bit, but feel it was too much in this setting. I'm not even a monarchist, but felt uncomfortable for them all. So that's what Kate wrote. So people seem divided on the sermon. I'd love to know what you think below. Now let's talk about my favorite part of the wedding, which was the music. And there was a young man who played the cello, and his name is Sheku Kana Mason, and he's only 19 years old. And he played 3 songs on the cello, and I was just captivated by him. He is incredible. His talent is just unbelievable. And it also captivated me because the first song that he played is one of my favorite classical music pieces of all time. It's called Sicilienne by Maria Theresia von Paradis. And people who are fans of Sherlock Holmes will recognize that as the opening music to the Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes series. So it's a very familiar piece to me. I love that series. But it is honestly one of the most beautiful pieces of music ever written. And that composer has a very interesting background. Maria Theresia von Paradis. She lost her sight at a young age, and Mozart actually composed a piece about her. But so he played those 3 pieces, and I just thought that was so beautiful. I was captivated by it. So I thought that he was one of the best parts about the ceremony. Okay, I wanted to get to more of your comments on Instagram. So Love Beauty, Love Health wrote, I thought it was very beautiful. I was up early to watch with my cup of tea and English biscuits in hand. The greenery and white flowers were very elegant and dreamy. It made the beautiful and historical chapel look whimsical in a way. Prince Harry looked dapper in his uniform. Meghan's dress was timeless. Queen Mary's diamond bandeau tiara was absolutely gorgeous. It paired perfectly with the simplicity of her wedding dress. She said, I may go against the current here, but I really love the bishop's sermon. It wasn't the ordinary royal custom, but I think it was a great way to incorporate both backgrounds. I love the message and passion he had. She wrote that she was a bit disappointed at the faces made by the royal family and the guests, however, and she thought that they should at least have a poker face and that they would hide it, that they were unhappy about the sermon. Okay, on Facebook, Charlotte Kirby wrote, I watched it and I loved every beautiful part of it. The cathedral was so beautiful, the bride and the sweet bridesmaids and page boys, as well as a lovely sunny day. Susan Peacock wrote, I was up at 5 and I watched all of it. Every second was pure joy. Don't you just love weddings? An American princess, how lovely. Okay, Claudia wrote, I thought the wedding was so joyous. The bride was a classic beauty and the groom handsome and gallant. I believe this couple will be putting their unique stamp on the world. I wish them all the best. Okay, Leandra wrote, am I too old-fashioned to believe that since the new Duchess of Sussex was previously married, it would have been more appropriate for her to have foregone the white veil, the maiden veil, and simply worn the lovely gown with tiara, but without the long train. So some people agreed with her on that one. And Anne McGlone wrote, sensational. It was like nothing we've seen before, mixing modern and traditional in a way that was perfect for the times. The flowers were so special, a tribute to Princess Diana. General consensus online was that people seemed to love the wedding. Okay, we're going to switch gears here for just a moment, and we are going to go over my favorite royal wedding dresses of all time. Okay, we're going to start with Princess Diana's dress, and while this is not my favorite royal wedding dress of all time, I feel that we have to mention it. Her dress was very fitting for the time period. You know, it was the 80s, and everything was just big, and it was a dress that, you know, it stunned a lot of people, and it was polarizing and people loved it or they didn't like it. But I have to give her an honorary mention here because I did think that she looked beautiful on her wedding day. Queen Elizabeth II, on her wedding day, she looked beautiful as well. And she had a very simple dress. It was not puffy. It didn't have the big princess bodice. But she just looked beautiful with her cascading flowers. Okay, a recent royal wedding dress that I thought was gorgeous was Princess Sophia of Sweden. And I love lace, and she had that beautiful lace with the open neckline and long sleeves. And she's a beautiful woman. I just thought that she looked gorgeous. I loved her bouquet. Simply stunning. Okay, one of my absolute favorite royal wedding dresses of all time is another American who married royalty, and of course I'm talking about Grace Kelly on her wedding day. She looked beautiful, that lace dress with the button up and the high collar, just an absolutely timeless look. I mean, I thought she looked absolutely stunning. this will come as no surprise to you. My favorite royal wedding dress of all time was the Duchess of Cambridge. I just loved her dress. I thought she looked so beautiful. The way that the lace came, it was a bit of a spin-off of Grace Kelly's dress, I thought, with the long sleeves and the high neck, with the lace going up the neck, but then the V-neck and the veil. She was just perfection on her wedding day. To know what royal wedding dresses you have loved throughout the ages. And now I am going to bring on a very special guest with some unique perspective and commentary on this year's royal wedding. Okay, as you can see, I have a very special guest for some deep, in-depth royal wedding commentary here, my husband, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
Who happens to be English, so he knows about all this stuff, right? So what did you think about the royal wedding?
Yeah, loved it. Yeah. First of all, yeah, thanks for inviting me on. What an honour to come on the show. I think it's the first time I've been asked, and yeah, what a topic to talk about. You know, I love discussing weddings, and fortunately, I didn't have to come too far.
He's actually kidding. I don't think you saw the whole royal. You just saw bits and pieces.
Yeah, I looked into a bit, you know, and yeah, it looked like a glorious day, didn't it? It was just wonderful, great weather, great backdrop, and yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing, but yeah, I had other things to do.
Did you think? Did you think that the bride and groom looked beautiful or nice, handsome? What did you think about them?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think obviously Meghan was the star of the show, and yeah, she really lit it up, and it's a breath of fresh air for what's, you know, the normal British way of doing things. But,
so, if those of you who follow me on Instagram know that we just celebrated our 12th wedding anniversary. So, yes, 12 wonderful years of marriage. And so since I'm sure that Harry and Meghan are going to be watching this video, what wedding advice or marriage advice would you have to give to them?
Wow, well, I'm sure Harry's got his advisors, but yes, surrender, I would say, would probably be the one thing from both sides, you know, just constant surrender and you know, and continue not worrying about what anyone else thinks. Just continue with your lives and show up and be available for each other, and yeah, try and do those, you know, those little touches of you know, showing of love, and yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine.
And I would say to them, just, yeah, I think that's really good advice. His advice to surrender. We are constantly surrendering.
I mean, you're not always going to get your own way. You're not always going to get what you want, right? So, you know, you can come from that place of surrender and allow the other person just to, you know, to be wrong at times. You know, it's the little stuff is just not that important. And
allow the other. That's hysterical. Allow the other person to be wrong. That's what I'm always saying to Ben. I'm like, you know, it's something I work on. I don't need to be right. Even if I know I am, I don't need to be right, right? Like, what's...
Well, it's just, there are bigger fish to fry, do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, do you really want to be arguing and having a bad atmosphere around the house? It's,
right.
You know, especially with kids involved. I'm sure Harry and Meghan won't be too long before they've got kids.
I
they
know.
seem very much in love, and yeah.
I agree. I think that it's just keeping an environment of peace in the home is very important. So just not fighting about little things, and you know, just pick your battles, I would say, and rarely pick them. We don't really fight anymore, do we?
No, we don't. I mean, it's going to be tough for Harry and Meghan as well, you know, with the public eye and all of that. You know, the camera's constantly on them. You know, that could be a stressful sort of setup just in itself. But yeah, she seems like the perfect person to, you know, take on this this rebranding of the royal family, I guess you can call it. It's definitely was bucking tradition, and you know, I always think of that movie, you know, for a British wedding, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and you know, with Hugh Grant, great movie, and this was certainly very different to that. Yes,
I can't remember that movie very well. I remember I liked it, but I can't remember what happened, so I'll have to rewatch it.
Yeah, very different.
Anyway.
But well done to Harry.
Yeah, well, thank you. We wish the Duke and Duchess of Sussex a very happy marriage. And I just want to thank my husband for joining me today as my special guest. And thank you so much for joining me on Tea Time with Jennifer. I would love to hear your thoughts on the royal wedding. Everything from the dress to the ceremony to the guests, everything that we discussed today, I would love to hear from you. If you don't already subscribe to my channel, please hit that red subscribe button and the bell notification to get emails for whenever I upload a video. Thank you for joining me today on the Daily Connoisseur, and we'll see you soon.
Kiss.
Bye.
Oh no, it was meant to be a wedding kiss.
Oh, a wedding kiss.